going to learn Pega in Docker. So basically, we are going to install Pega in Docker container, and let's see what are the steps and how we are going to do. So as part of this, we are going to discuss about the introduction, architecture, and steps to install the Pega in Docker. So we know that Pega is available in Personal Edition and also Enterprise. We can install Pega. So basically, in Personal Edition, once we install it, we can use it in my personal laptop. But there are certain problems with the Personal Edition, like uh, it takes times to install, and also if you install and down the line, let's say 4 to 5 months later, if you see your antivirus might block your port, or is some functionality might be blocked by the antivirus, or some kind of problem happens. So Pega might create problem even if you have already installed Personal Edition. But Docker is going to solve that problem because Docker is very easy and handy. You can install Pega with a single or few commands, and once you install it, you can run it and use it as like your Personal Edition. And with certain modification, maybe you can install Pega as a Docker container in your enterprise also, following the similar step. Okay, so let's go to the architecture. So from the architecture perspective, if we see we are going to install Pega within Docker container. So there would be two container. One is for Pega web server, another is for Postgres database server. Postgres database server will be running within a separate container where we will have rule schema and data schema. Now Pega web server, which is hosted in Tomcat within the container, will be connecting to Postgres database. Now Pega, to support Pega, we need a pre-populated database object, and that's why we have a dump file, which is pega.dump file that we'll see later. So we need to dump that file inside the Postgres container, and once we dump it, then it will automatically create rule schema and data schema required to run Pega within container. Now, since these are two separate container, and Docker has a tight security for the container communication, so we need to see like how we can connect Pega web server from one separate container to the Postgres container. And there are few possibilities, but we are going to follow a simple approach. Is like creating a Docker network and then join both the Postgres container as well as Pega container within the same Docker network. Once those are in same Docker network, we can connect from Pega to Postgres using JDBC driver, which we are going to see later. Now, as part of the installation process, we need to follow certain steps. So those are listed here. If you see, first we are going to start Docker. Once Docker is started, we are going to find what is the right image for this installation process, that we are going to get it from Docker Hub. Those images are already been provided by Pega Systems. Then we need JDBC Postgres driver for database connectivity. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we need the Pega dump file. I'm going to show you like how we are going to get the pega.dump file. This is basically available from Pega installation file. So let's say if you have Personal Edition, you can go to Personal Edition installation file, and then from the installation folder, we can find out the pega.dump file. Then we need to create the Docker file, which are going to be used for the Docker installation. We need to prepare the image that we are going to get from the Docker Hub, and then run the Postgres inside Docker. And then we are going to dump the pega.dump file inside the Postgres container and join the network that we are going to create for the connectivity. And then we'll be running Pega inside Docker. Uh, and then once everything completed, we will be able to access Pega from my local machine. So let's see in the next steps how we are going to install and follow those steps mentioned in this particular um, GitHub repository. Okay, so for installing Pega in Docker, you can get all the necessary supporting files for running Docker container from this particular Pega in Docker um, GitHub repo. Now, since we need to first install Postgres, let's go to Postgres and see what is the Docker file definition we have. So here, if we see, we have a OpenJDK Postgres uh, image, and that is provided by Pega system. So let's go to Docker Hub. I have already checked it, but if you search with this, you'll get from Pega system, you will open JDK, and then if you go to tag, you'll see that 11 is present. So we are going to use 11. Now Postgres is exposed in port number 5432. 5432 port is being used by default in Postgres to do the database communication. So we are going to expose this one also 5432, and then to support the Postgres installation, connectivity, and all, we need to define the Postgres user, database, and password as an environment variable, which we have defined here. And the PG data, this volume is going to be used later point of time where we are going to uh, actually dump the uh, pega.dump file. So let's go to Visual Studio now and do actual coding. Okay, so let's first check if there is any already Docker container running, but there is nothing. If you have anything running in your system, you can kill that. But if it's not running, then just directly go to Docker command for building the image. So for that, we have Docker build -t. Then we can give a name, Postgres, and then dot refer to basically the directory, current directory. So here we are in Postgres, and if we see, I am under Postgres, and Postgres has this Docker file and Pega dump file. So we'll just run this one. It will build the image, and this is pretty much very quick. Now we are going to run this Docker image. So for that, we have command docker run. And we need to keep it in mind that this 5432 is a container port. It's not going to be used, accessed by your local machine. So to expose this 5432 port in your local machine, you have to have a port mapping. And for that, there is a syntax you just need to give. You can map it to anything, but for the simplicity, I'll just put it 5432 to 5432 as a port mapping, and then we can give a name to this container, like let's say Postgres, uh, and then we can give the image name, actually the image that we have built. So if you remember, we have given an image name like Postgres, so we can give the same thing. So basically, to distinct distinguish between these two things, probably what we can do, we can give a different name like Pega Postgres, something like that, and then image name we already have given. So once we do that, it will run the image and initialize the database. So let's wait for a few more minutes, and this is going to happen very pretty quickly. Now once it is done, we can check from pgadmin. If you have pgadmin installed, you can open it and configure the database. But if you don't have, you can just install it. Now for checking it, we just need to map the connection. So here, if you remember, we have already exposed from the previous command, we have already exposed the port. So this now port going to be exposed or can be accessed from the local host. So that's why we have provided here local host, and the port is this. And also from the environment variable, if you remember, Postgres is the username and password is Postgres also. So that's why we have given Postgres here. And with this, I'm able to connect to the database. And if you see, there are like three different schema already available, but we don't have right now Pega data schema or Pega rule schema. So to get the Pega rule schema and data schema available, let's see how we can do it. So for that, let's go to the Postgres directory. So if we remember, we have a pega.dump file. So how we can get the pega.dump file? Okay, so if you have already have the Pega installation media, that either you can get it from PDM by downloading the Pega Personal Edition, or maybe if you're trying to do the same thing in your enterprise, so Pega should have provided you the Pega installation media file. Also, I have taken 8.7, but once you extract it, you can go to the data directory. From here, if you see, you can get the pega.dump file. Now, what you need to do, you just need to copy it in under the Postgres directory, and that is the same thing we are going to use. So now, if we go to Postgres, we know we have the pega.dump file available. What we need to do right now is basically uh, copy this particular dump file, pega.dump file, inside the Postgres container. So for doing that, let's first get the Postgres container ID. So we know this is the Postgres container name. So using name and as well as container ID, we can do that. And for that, we have a command like docker cp pega.dump, and then we need to copy inside a particular directory. We cannot just copy anywhere or everywhere. So we just need to copy a particular directory, and for that there is a command cp dump and then the container name and then class. And this is the directory where we need to copy. So let's copy it. It will take some time, so I'll pause the video and then we'll come back again.